Hello everyone, this is lesson 4.5, chapter 4, 7th grade, lesson 4.5, solving inequalities using addition and subtraction. By the end of today, you should be able to add and subtract inequality equations and finding equivalent inequalities, okay? Really quick, we are going to just review some things. We know that this is less than because it looks like a crooked L, and then this would be greater than, okay? Less than, greater than. We have four symbols: less than, greater than, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to. When we graph our solutions, these ones without the equal sign will be an open circle, and then these ones with an equal sign will be a closed circle. Okay, make sure you copy this down, have this in your notes so that you know. When it has the less than or equal to or greater than or equal to, this will be a closed circle, okay? All right, now we need to solve this problem just like we've been doing one-step and two-step equations. We're going to solve this the exact same way. So step one, make sure you write down your problem. X minus 5 is less than negative 3. Now we are trying to solve for this x, and to do that we want to get it all by itself. So we're going to separate our problem into two sides. We're going to get rid of this because we want to do this last. What is the opposite of a negative 5? Well, that's a positive 5. Don't forget to cross it off. Whatever you do on one side, do it to the other. That is a positive 5. But they are different signs, so if they are different signs, you have to subtract. 5 minus 3 is 2. We also have more positives. Don't forget to drop everything down. You now have x is less than x is less than 2. So what exactly does that mean? So if we were going to graph this on an equation, on a graph, here's my number 0, here's 1 and 2. So we're going to put a circle like this. I'm going to ask myself, give me a number that is less than 2. All of those numbers would be this way on this graph. And what does that mean? That means that it doesn't matter what number I choose for x, as long as it's less than 2, it's going to make this equation true. Or sorry, this inequality true. So for example, let's say just choose the number 1. We have 1 minus 5 will be less than negative 3. Is that true? Let's see. Well, different signs, we're going to subtract, so that's negative 4. Is negative 4 less than negative 3? That is correct. It is less than negative 3. Remember, the more left you go, the smaller it is. All right, let's graph another one. Here we go. We'll break it down into two sides. We want to do this last, our variable last. So let's do what is the opposite of a negative 6. Well, that is a positive 6. Don't forget to cross it off, positive 6. Whatever you do on one side, make sure you do it to the other. They are different signs. You have to subtract. 7 minus 6 is 1. We have more negatives than positives. So now we know that y is greater than negative 1. So if we were going to draw this on a number line, it would look like this. So we got to plot our 0. Here's 0. And then here's negative 1. We're going to put this, remember we said if it does not have an equal to, then it's an open circle. Now let's ask myself, give me some numbers that are bigger than negative 1. Well, that would be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And if you're going to solve that, let's just say we use the number 4. All right, let's put that in the equation. So here's the equation. So we have 4 minus 6 should be greater than negative 7. These are different signs, so if we subtract, that would be negative 2. Is negative 2 greater than negative 7? Yes, it is. That is correct. Let's do another one. This time we got some decimals. We got two sides. We want to do our variable last. So what is the opposite of subtracting 3.8? That's going to be adding 3.8. Whatever you want to do on one side, do it to the other. So add 3.8. Let's add it. 8 plus 7 is 15. Carry the 1. 3 plus 1 is 4. Plus 1 is 5. Got our decimal. Bring this down. You now have b is less than or equal to 5.5. Again, don't forget we do have to graph these. So if you're going to graph these on a graph, don't forget to plot your 0. All right, and let's say we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.5. That's 5.5. Now remember, this time we have an equal to sign, so that means this circle needs to be colored in. All right, so a colored in circle. And then we got to ask ourselves this question. Give me a number that would be less than 5.5. 4, 3, 0, those are all less than 5.5. And where would those be? So that means any number that is on this side of the graph all the way and including 5.5 would make this inequality true. All right. Now, this is the ones that get just a little bit more difficult because they involve fractions, but if you just follow the rules for fractions, it should be very easy. All right. We got two sides to our equation. Let's remind ourselves, how do we add and subtract fractions? They have to have a what? A common denominator. All right. So remember, we want to get our variable last, so it means we're going to try to get rid of this. How do you do that? You're going to do the opposite of negative 1/4, which is positive 1/4. Don't forget to cross it off. Whatever you do on one side, do it to the other. So we have negative 1/2 plus 1/4. But remember what we said, we got to have a common denominator. So we got a 4 there, we got a 2 here. What common denominator do both of them have? 4. So let's get this to 4. We're going to do times 2 times 2. I'm going to rewrite this equation. So 1 times 2 is 2. Okay, 2 times 2 is 4 plus 1/4. Now we solve. Same sign or different signs? They are different signs. So if they are different signs, we have to subtract. 2 minus 1 is 1. Denominator stays the same. Do we have more negatives or more positives? It looks like we have more negatives, so that's negative 1/4. And what's left over? We have our greater than sign and then our letter Z. So negative 1/4 is greater than the letter Z. Those were addition problems. Now we're just going to practice some subtraction problems that look exactly the same style, same way. Just this time, instead of addition, we are going to be subtracting. All right, we got two sides to this problem. Remember, we want to do our variable last. So let's get rid of this. What is the opposite of a positive 14? Well, that's a negative 14. Don't forget to cross it off. Whatever you do on one side, do to the other. Different signs, so that means we need to subtract. 14 minus 13 is 1. Do we have more negatives or more positives? It looks like we have more negatives. So that's negative 1. Bring everything down. So now it looks like negative 1 is less than or equal to the letter X. Don't forget that we do need to graph this problem. Don't forget to put your 0. There's negative 1. And remember, if we have an equal to sign, the circle needs to be colored in. And now let's ask ourselves the question. Right here, give me a number that would be bigger than negative 1. Well, 0 is bigger than negative 1. 5 is bigger than negative 1. And all of those numbers would be pointing that way. Okay? So if you thought, you're like, oh, I found out the trick. Whichever way this arrow points is the way I'm supposed to go. That is not correct. That's not the way this works. You got to ask yourself, give me a number that would be bigger than that according to this problem. All right, let's do a few more and then you should be able to solve the rest of your homework for today. Let's break it down into two sides. Remember, we want to do our variable last, so we want to get rid of this positive 3. Whatever you do on one side, do to the other. Subtract 3. They are the same sign, so if they are the same sign, we do have to add. 3 plus 1 is 4. They're both negative. Drop this down. We now have W is less than or equal to negative 4. Don't forget to graph this. Here is our 0. Here is negative 4. Is this open circle or closed circle? Because we have an equal sign, it is going to be a closed circle. All right. And now let's ask ourselves, give me some numbers that would be smaller than negative 4. Negative 5 is smaller than negative 4. Negative 6, negative 7, negative 8. Those would be on that side. All right, let's do another one. Let's do this one with a fraction, because this one seems to be a little bit more difficult. Here we go. Don't forget to break it down. Don't forget, how do you add and subtract fractions? You have to have a common denominator. Okay? So we want to do our variable last. So that means we want to get rid of this 3/4. What is the opposite of adding 3/4? That would be subtracting 3 over 4. Cross that off. Whatever you do on one side, do it to the other. Subtract 3 over 4. Now, this is where the problem comes in. First thing, we do not want to have mixed numbers, so we want to change that from a mixed number into an improper fraction. How do we do that? Don't forget you multiply your denominator with your whole number. So 2 times 1 is 2. Then you're going to take this and you're going to add it with your numerator. So 2 plus 1 will give us 3 over 2. I'm going to do that one more time just in case you didn't see that. So we're going to multiply our denominator and our whole number. You get 2. Then you're going to add your numerator, and that gives you 3 over 2. Okay, now we can just bring the rest of it down. Subtract 3 over 4. Don't forget that we have to have a common denominator when we add or subtract fractions. What is a number that they both have in common? Well, I believe both of them have 4 in common. So let's do this. Times 2 times 2. I'm going to rewrite the problem. 3 times 2 is 6. 2 times 2 is 4. Then bring everything else down, minus 3 over 4. Let's just subtract now. 6 minus 3 is 3. Have your denominator, that's 4. We have more positives than negatives. So that's 3 over 4, okay? Bring down your x, is greater than 3 over 4. And that is your equation. That is your answer, sorry. Don't forget you do need to graph this. If you have any questions, please do not be afraid to ask for your homework. Have a great day, and I'll see everybody tomorrow.